You're listening to The Tide Pod, hosted by your friendly neighborhood PhD. Well, hey, everybody, it's another episode of The Tide Pod, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Alona, who many of you may know as the Doctor of Comics. So I want to definitely introduce her as the doctor of the comic book area, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. But yeah, I appreciate you joining. Looking forward to just visiting about a number of different things.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like to start off with a little bit of an icebreaker question, and luckily I shared this with you because I know sometimes it takes a while for people to decide, and I myself can't decide on a song either. But is there a current song right now that kind of resonates with you, like personally or with your journey, and like why does it connect to you in that way?
So ever since you asked that, I was thinking, and I thought I want to find the happy song because it's icebreaker, but I can't. Like I have one song that keeps popping up, so I have to go with it. It's "Hello Darkness," my old friend.
Oh, Sound of Silence.
Hello Silence. Sorry, yeah, Sound of Silence.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
Disturbed. Right.
Ooh, that's a really good one. Yeah, that's one of my top 5 or 10 songs for sure. Yeah. I've been a Disturbed fan actually for probably since high school, like in the early 2000s. So yeah.
So I love them, and that's probably my favorite song by them. And lately, it's kind of, if you listen to
Really
the
connects.
lyrics, it's just kind of what's happening now. So
Oh, I totally agree. No, there's so much of that song I think that connects with people, just like different stories or things that happen. But I don't know, kind of that deeper, darker song. There's just a lot of meaning I think behind the lyrics, and then the way they sort of like strip it down, right? Where it's just like the one vocal, and I don't know, it's a really good song.
it is. It's a really good song, and
Yeah.
it just works now. So I couldn't find like an upbeat, happy one, but that's
Hey, I mean, there's a lot of life things that are not the happy upbeat, right?
yeah.
Have you
We're
like
here
that?
to talk about comic books, so definitely not happy.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But has that been a song that you've been connected to a long time, or have you just found it
Yes.
recently?
I've known this song, I think, forever. But
Okay.
in the past couple of years, it's kind of been my go-to when I needed to reflect, and it just every time, how you read a book or you watch a movie or something, and then a few years later you read it again, and then it's completely different, and then again. And so that's kind of the song. It kind of always talks about something very meaningful, but every couple of years it changes its meaning to me. But just for me, because obviously the lyrics stay the same.
Well, and then I mean, life events and experience and things change, as you like get older.
Yeah, perspectives.
Exactly. No, I like a song like that kind of evolves, as far as its meaning with you and everything. So very cool. Well, that's a good lead in, but I wanted to give you just a few minutes to kind of introduce, yourself and talk a little bit about maybe your passions. And I know you have a dog too that we've talked a little bit about. So yeah, I'll just let you take it from there.
Okay, so happy to talk about my dog always. His name is Loki. He's crazy. I don't know if the name kind of made it this way. I don't really believe in those things, but it's kind of like, I think it's correlation, not causation thing here, but he's definitely Loki, Loco, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's very cute, and he's very protective. So he will bark anytime anyone walks down the street. And he needs constant attention. If I don't pet him for like a second, really like a second, he would do this like to my arm so that
very attention hungry.
Wow, like crazy. And he can eat like a steak, and then a second later look at me like, "Oh, mister, can I please have another bite? I'm so hungry." Like,
begging. Like, yep, I know exactly what you mean. I have a little corgi, and she barks at every noise, and like every meal, every time I'm eating anything, she's just sitting there staring. So
it doesn't. And I've had him since he was a puppy, which is the second time in my life I adopted a puppy, because first time was just when the puppy was born. My friend, her dog had puppies, so she needed to find homes for them. But other than that, ever since I was a kid, I always grew up with dogs. All my friends had dogs. All my friends now, almost all of them have dogs. Like it's
kind of,
everyone has. And I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to send me to the shelter to adopt a dog. Like, he used to, like, every 10 years. I don't know, like how long they live. More than 10 years. So
I think 10 to 15 probably.
Yeah, so you have one or two dogs. That's a few visits to the shelter, and every time she told me, always pick the one that no one is going to adopt. Don't take the cute puppy, take the old one with the 3 legs. That was kind of my guidelines for going to the shelter and adopt and choose.
I love that.
And Loki, I adopted him when he was a few months old only, which is unlike me, because like I said, usually I would take the ones that I know have a specific ending coming so I can prevent that.
Right.
And he was just, they found him on the street somewhere in the South, and he was like, and he needed a family, and he was kind of crazy, I wanted him. So so we've been together for like 5 years, I think now.
Wow, that's really good. Did you, I guess you named him Loki after you adopted?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Actually, his name originally was Berlin, which is a very weird name for a shelter to give a dog, but also my favorite city. So I kind of saw it as a sign.
Yeah, that makes sense. That is interesting that they would give that name though.
Yeah, but I really love Berlin. So it's like, okay, that's a good sign, but I can't call it dog Berlin. Like I can walk on the street shouting, Berlin, Berlin, don't eat that.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. Yeah, then there's no good like nicknames either that you can come up with Berlin. Yeah. Berlin. But like Loki, like I'm obviously assuming it is like a reference to the character in Thor and everything, right? Like, is that where it
I'm not that original, obviously. It's that.
Yeah. Is that a character that you specifically like, or like what made you choose that name for the dog?
I don't know. I like him because I like Loki because so the thing is, when you think about superheroes and supervillains and comic books, if you're not like an insider, if you're just, kind of watching a few Marvel movies, maybe read a comic book or two when you were a kid, you think there's the good guys and the bad guys, and there's good and there's bad.
Yep.
And it's kind of like you have a PhD, so it's kind of like lab conditions, laboratory conditions where you can measure and really see things like in a very objective and clean way.
Right.
And when you dive deeper, you realize it couldn't be further from the truth. Like maybe the only bad guy is Joker, and because he's a sociopath. So it's a mental disorder.
Well, obviously there's something behind it, right? Like it's not.
Like one bad
day.
So actually one bad day doesn't show that he's not a bad guy inherently. But anyway, the bad guys, they have their reasons. I love Lex Luthor and I love Loki because they're not like typical bad guy. I'm going to kill the superhero and I'm going to, like the they're more complex.
I was going to say there's like depth or complexity there to the character and like why they're doing what they're doing.
And exactly, and how? Because if you look at Lex Luthor, for example, then you have Batman protecting Gotham City, and you have Arrow protecting his city, and Flash protecting his city, and everybody's my city, my city, my city.
Yeah.
Luthor is protecting his planet against and a being that could literally, read Red Sun, like SON. So he can make us like his slaves if he wanted to. There were occasions where that happened in comic books. Actually, even if his intentions were good, it doesn't matter. So, and Lex has this immortal saying, like, you don't have to use a silver bullet, but if you forge one, you don't need to rely on the kindness of monsters. So if you see that and you say, okay, but Lex kills and superheroes don't kill. Okay, so he's a vigilante. He's not a villain. Arrow did kill, like Batman used to kill. A lot of them killed before.
There are a lot of characters that,
And Lex also becomes good in a few comic books. So same with Loki. Like he was the scapegoat kid, in a family that completely gaslighted him, like his entire childhood. No, you're our son, of course we love you, this is the king, your brother who looks like us and nothing like you.
Right.
And then one day he realizes that he's the son of their enemies, and and anyone would react in a way, and he's
right
and he's kind of trying to be good, but then he can't, and it's very human.
It really is. He's one that even in the most recent films, I feel like they've done a good job with showing kind of that back and forth thing, and you almost in the end you root for him, like you're pulling for him to actually make it through and everything. And then like the way that, he ends up sort of, well, spoiler alert, I guess, for anybody that's watched the series or whatever, but he ends up being in a place where, he's balancing time and actually doing something good for the people, like for basically all of the entire universe at that point. So
exactly. And he's doing it very humanely. Like he's not, okay, I'm going to be good now. No, he's like, he's trying and then he sleeps and then he does again. And then he's like, he's good, but he's also taking care of himself. And it's like, that's much more depth than we're the good guys, we're the bad guys. Pow, pow.
Exactly. It's not so black and white, right? Like there's always this like huge space of morals and decisions that come into it, and it's very human, actually, for sure. And actually
psychological.
Exactly. And I wanted to actually lead into one of your posts, I think, from before, where you kind of talked a little bit about the dynamic between Disney, like in movies, and like happy endings, and how that's kind of like portrayed as the end goal for people a lot is, you're always going to have the happy ending, and like that's the thing to really strive for, but it's not always so simple, and life is much more messy than that, and I like how you like a lead into kind of the journey is something that has happiness throughout it at some points, but also like obviously sadness and many other things that go on. So like I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about your perspective on that side of things, and like how the comics make it a little bit more, or that human factor.
It's funny but comics make it much more human than Disney. First of all, I think Disney is a horrible franchise. Used to be, at least. Now they're kind of making amends, but the entire what they did to women, it's horrible. We've been taught since the age, and it's a part of a huge system or whatever to call it, but it's not just Disney. But I grew up getting the information that I need to be pretty and passive and fight with other women who are a stepmother or whatever, or witch. It's always like the evil woman. So we're all evil to each other, and the men are just like, oh no, the poor father, he didn't know what's happening, and
like
I need
the Prince
to,
Charming thing too.
Yeah, I need to go to sleep and wait for someone to kiss me when I'm unconscious, and then we can live happily ever after. So that's terrible. But the happy ending thing is, first of all, what's happy? I hate when people ask you, "Are you happy?" That is a terrible question to ask. I'm sorry, I'm being negative today.
But it's real though. Like,
but
that's
yeah,
an
but it's
honest
like
emotion.
you can't be happy. You can't be a happy person, because then you'll be in a loony house, because no one can be one feeling all the time. So you kind of need to find a way to be mostly positively, to have mostly positive emotions if you can, but it also fluctuates. So when people say, "I want you to be happy," "I want to be happy," "Are you happy?" they're actually sending us on a chase that is self-destructive, because you can't be happy, so you keep being disappointed that you're not happy, and you keep looking at other people and see, wait, is he happy? What, is she happy? Okay, like I once told my therapist, I told her, I think if someone looked at me from the side, like from they would say, okay, worse, if I looked at me and I didn't know me, I would say, okay, if I were her, I would be happy. Like, she's pretty, she's smart, she has a nice life, she doesn't have a lot to worry about,
Right.
But I'm me, and I know that I'm not. So it's kind of paradoxical, I guess.
Exactly.
And that's, so the whole thing that you have to wait until you're happy, and then you spend your life waiting, or you need to suffer until you're happy. That's kind of religious, like suffer your entire life. What's ending? Is end death? So is it heaven? Is it like we suffer our lives and the happy ending is we die and go to heaven? Why is it ending? They never show what happens afterwards.
Exactly, right.
You can't, because there is no perfect. I don't want to do any spoilers, but everyone should watch the show, The Good Place.
Yeah.
So if you've watched it, it kind of tackles that. And it does it brilliantly. The thing is, you kind of have to watch the entire show.
I'm gonna have to watch that
ruin
now.
It, so I'm not gonna say exactly why, but that's kind of it. Like, what's heaven? What's perfect? What's So and there isn't. That's why they can never show it. And the entire mindfulness thing and everything. I'm not like spiritual, but I do like to. I love changing my opinions about things. If someone manages to change my opinion, I have super high appreciation for them, because I think it's great. I don't change it easily, but I do.
Right.
And it makes me also kind of, okay, I'm not spiritual and I don't get the whole mindfulness and the entire thing, but I do want to see why, okay, there's a reason why millions of people are into it. So let's break it down and see. And there's one thing that I really do like and connect with. It's you be in the moment, which is super hard to do. And happy ending is the opposite of being in the moment. It tells you, no, the moment, there is no moment. You just need to suffer, and then you'll have 1 second of happiness, and
it diminishes everything else that happens for that like future goal. Yeah.
And being in the moment is the opposite of that. And obviously we're human, and you can't always be in the moment. But like, I'm enjoying our conversation now, and that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to think about, I don't know, where it's going to be. If like I actually did a podcast with, I don't know if it even aired. Like, I had fun, and then
really? So
and
I'm
really trying to
do the next thing.
As much as I can, because everybody has days where they don't want to be in that moment. But always thinking, if then, it's like, it's good for computer science, it's not good for life. Like, if I had more money, if I were 10 pounds thinner, if I had, I don't know, if I passed that test, then I would be happy. No, I've made so many of those ifs. It doesn't change anything. You get a new if the second you get there.
It's everywhere. I mean, it touches on like so many areas of like human existence, I think, right? Because like a lot of culture is like, I need that amount of money, I need that high status job, I need, like the perfect, quote unquote, perfect normal life, or whatever. But like, even like looking at disability, and that's kind of something I do a lot, because I have, a severe physical disability. Like, if you're going to spend your life waiting for a cure, that's probably never going to be, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, probably. And who knows if it will ever be achieved. But like, there's so many other things that you can experience and see and do. And like, if you focus on the end result and not the journey, there's just so much that's lost, I think. And living moment to moment's not easy, like you said, but it's, I find that so much better and so much more fulfilling with, your life trying to be that way, as opposed to, this emotion, this feeling that, happiness is like a thing it just passes over you, like in the moment, right? Like, it's not.
You can't be angry all the time. You can be happy all the time.
How can you define it as, exactly. How can you make it this end goal? And then, I mean, what are you going to do like in the meantime?
Yeah, once you have an end goal, it makes everything else kind of, pointless.
And and that's not to say like you don't want to achieve. I mean, obviously, like we're trying to achieve things too, but like that shouldn't be the the end goal, obviously. So yeah, sorry for interrupting though.
No, you just made me think. Is the disability angle on that? You said the cure could be maybe you won't even live to see it, and actually the pace everything is going is kind of exponential now with AI and things. So maybe not, but. Putting that aside, I have a friend who was in a ski accident and he's in a wheelchair since then. It was, I don't know, years ago. And we actually know him after the accident. I didn't know him before. And when I talked about it with friends and we all talk about it, he said he didn't want to he can't walk obviously, so he didn't want the exoskeleton or to go and check what's available and everything. Like he did a check like at the beginning. He's a brilliant person, like he's a genius, like literally genius, not figuratively. And he saw that it's going to take a long time and maybe never. So he decided that he's not going to look anymore. And he doesn't want to test anything and he doesn't want to try because he felt, and now I understand, back then I couldn't understand, but now I understand it much better. Because otherwise he would just wait for it and it would make everything else pointless.
Exactly.
And the thing is, since then, he started his own, and this guy had achievements before, but he started his own company in another country and he raised tens of millions of dollars. Like it's super successful. And now like when I'm hearing you, I think it's because he decided not to look for a cure. He said, like, I'm surrounded by genius friends. If there will be ever something real, they'll tell me. That's it. I'm not focusing on it. This is the reality, and I'm doing what I can. And the guy like flies all the time, and when he travels with his family, nothing stops him. And I think maybe it's part because of that, because he decided not to look for it.
And I think that's right.
That's amazing. I think that's right. I never thought about it this way. I couldn't understand it. Now I can actually understand it.
Yeah, and it is like the happy ending approach too, right? Like, like the cure is the happy ending. Like if you're going to wait around for that, like you're going to miss so many other things that happen. And like for me, there's such a big thing of like someone who is like, well, I just want to be able to stand up, or I want a machine to be able to help me walk. And I'm just like, that doesn't always have to be the goal. Like, why would I focus on doing that when like I could do so many other things? Like. And even like with the research that I'm doing, or like, even enjoying something like reading comics, like, there's so many other things that aren't based on physical, ability.
You can like say, okay, in the next 5 years, it's not going to happen. So in the next 5 years, I'm taking it off the table and I'm doing everything that's not like, And then 5 years from now, you can say, okay, is it going to be soon? Should I look into it? Yes, no, take a few more years. And then it makes everything, it gives other things meaning as well.
Yeah. And it's like, in the end, all humans, like there's not a cure, quote unquote cure for death, right? Like we're getting older, or having an accident. I mean, like there's not like we're not immortal as far as physically, and it obviously depends on people's beliefs, but like there's not a cure for like aging of the human body at this point. So so it's like why spend time just sitting around waiting for it to happen?
Also, everyone has something, and it's not always in the same magnitude, or it's not always like in parallel, but everyone is struggling. You also in the questions I prepared for a little bit. I didn't want to prepare too much because I wanted it to be like organic.
Organic, right?
I kind of thought like of okay, but you asked about the difficulty that I overcame, and I have many. So I'm going to take one of them, which is I'm 43 now, and I think when I was 37 or 8, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and you say, okay, fine, ADHD. So you can't concentrate. No, actually, it's not that. If you look at MRI and CT scans of the brain, it's a different brain structure, and people tend to think it's you're being lazy or self-centered because my brain works in a way that if something's interesting for me, I can stay up all night and not do anything else. But if something is boring, nothing will make it. Like I can solve strategic problems. I see everything at once. I see 10 steps ahead. I have solved in very simple ways complex strategic problems that people before me couldn't. It was easy for me. But if I need to fill an IRS form, I'm going to cry. I'm going to sit on the floor and start crying because I don't know, even though it says, what's your name? I can't. I don't know why. And I think the difficulty I overcame wasn't so much the ADHD. It was realizing what my life looked like because I wasn't diagnosed. Because as a kid, when they found out that my IQ was over 140, instead of sending me to I don't know, gifted school, whatever it's called, or doing something, they said I cheated because my on like regular tests I got 60 and 70. And said no, so you probably cheated on the intelligence test. And then I just stayed there, and they thought I was lazy, and I had eating disorders my entire life. Now now I know it's kind of because of that. It usually also comes with depression and anxiety and other things. So I think I had a point where I was feeling really sorry for myself. Like my entire life, I remember thinking, I wish they found something in my brain that would show me that I'm not stupid and
there was something, obviously.
Yeah, and I didn't know it then.
Yeah.
I didn't know what ADHD. I never heard of it. I thought it was, when I was a grown-up, I thought it was a kid's thing. And then some friends from university said, no, you need to go get checked.
Yeah.
And I think the overcoming wasn't that. It was to stop feeling sorry for myself. And it took me a while. It wasn't like I said for an hour and then I said, okay, no. It was a process also. Like I decided and then I went back to it and then again and then again. And it was like, okay, yeah, my childhood could have been easier and it also could have been harder. And yeah, it sucked and kids like laughed at me and I was kind of fat and it wasn't great, but my family was so supportive that it maybe brought us together because, and yeah, I didn't have great grades, but I did study abroad and I graduated like my bachelor with the honors. So, I did that in spite of everything. And I can build 3 apps in a weekend that used to take like a startup to do if I'm interested in that. And that's like a superpower. And, and now it's like, okay, that's my super, it's not even, it's just part of who I am. If I didn't have it, I'd be someone completely different.
Exactly. So, and I think that's so, so great to realize that it's like a journey of acceptance and realizing that, this is part of who you are. And then it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if you didn't have that specific thing, like growing up, you would have missed out on something else that, was meaningful. And like, I think that disability, whether it's physical, mental, like or how severe it is like oftentimes it ends up being a positive thing that, maybe it brings you together with people in a different way. Or, I mean, it adds or builds character, if that makes sense in a lot of ways. And so I feel like, there's a lot of good behind the challenges that many of us face with things. And so like, I really appreciate you sharing, that.
And also if you don't think you're supposed to be happy, if you're saying like, okay, let's take out of the equation for a second, the fact that I need to be happy because there isn't such thing. And you're saying, let's just assume that life is life and things happen in life. It's much easier to accept it because then you don't feel like, no, but I was supposed to be happy, but that ruins it. No one is supposed to be happy. You're supposed to live life and, then not. That's what every animal on the planet is doing.
Right, and think how unhappy, like, so many people are because they're waiting for or trying to always be happy and then they're not. And there's a disappointment, right? So like, I mean, you're wasting all this time.
So don't assume you should be happy. And then you're happier. It's funny to say it. So you're not happier, you're more content, I study because I wanted to be a doctor of comics and there is no such thing as doctor of comics. I needed to make it up. By the way, part of my ADHD, I don't care that there isn't such thing. It's not going to prevent me from doing it.
Exactly.
So I found a professor at the university who's a professor of philosophy, and his son was autistic, like severely autistic, and comic books was the way they communicated with each other. So he loved comic books, and he agreed to be my professor. So my PhD is in philosophy and comic books. So then I'm going very deeply into philosophy because got a master's for everything in the process.
Yeah.
And I like the Stoics. I can't be Stoic. I don't want to be Stoic, but Stoics basically they say, like I said, like with the whole mindfulness and all of it. The essence is very interesting because they say you can't control anything that happens to you. So you can only control how you react. And we've all heard this line, and it's like, yeah, right. But when something happens, I'm going to curse and and I'm going to be mad about it. I don't care. But then again, like find a balance and say, okay, it's not like I think it's a good thing that I had ADHD, or it's a good thing that you have the disability, or it's a good thing. I don't care if it's a good thing. It's a thing. And I'm going to find the pluses in it.
Exactly. Like
I'm going to find
a
silver lining.
Over. Yeah.
I'm going to find a silver lining. So I'm saying, okay, so I got this superpower. Yeah, it comes with that, but it already came with that. So now I'm going to find the silver lining. Like if there's a war, it's bad. You want to go back in time and prevent the war, but you can't. So you at least can say, okay, but it brought people closer together, or it replaced the bad government. I don't know. I don't want to get into politics.
Right.
But like I'm saying, you can even things that are obviously bad. And you had a time machine, you would go back in time and make sure they don't happen.
But we don't.
They happen.
Yeah,
but we don't have that, and they happen. So you can sit and cry, or you can sit and cry for a while, and then decide to, like my mom always said, you cry, but then you go on, and that's me. I cry.
Well, and like you almost have to go through that crying to get get through something. So like that makes total sense. It's like using what you have and what you do have control over, to go through things that are not necessarily good.
And then you improve the next day. It's like I can tell myself, listen, this is not the end of the world. I'm letting you until the end of the day to cry. So I'll soak until the end of the day, and I'll eat nonsense, and I'll binge watch Smallville for the 8th time probably. But then tomorrow I don't get to do that anymore.
Well, and
I can be down again. You can have but basically tomorrow I have to wake up and think of a few good things that happened because of that.
Right. And maybe there's something like
they don't look for the word for happiness. If you translate it, it's more content. It's not happy. They don't.
There's a big difference between those two. Yeah.
They search for contentment. And that's something that I think is what we should do. Like we should say, okay, these are my cards. Am I content with how I'm playing them? Okay. I need to strive for contentment.
Right. No, that's such a good point. I hadn't thought specifically in those two terms, but that's exactly kind of describing how I've approached things. So of being in a place of, like you have to process, you have to go through, constantly adapting to new negative things that are popping up. Like maybe I could do something yesterday that I can't do now, but at the same time, you can still find that place of contentment, almost in like a balance in a way too, that, that it really works. So I really appreciate you sharing kind of how comics can connect to that too, because, like with the whole academic field of partitioning into degrees and, like, well, you can't get a degree in comics because that doesn't exist. Well, if you kind of look deeper, like there's this huge human like philosophy and human behavior and all these dynamics that go into all these different characters that are in,
I
the
could have gone for
extensive
psychology
history.
or literature. Exactly. You just,
But a lot of that's already like psychology is kind of built into a lot of the characters there. So I mean, like it's really interesting to think about, I think, of how you should be able to get a PhD in that, because look at how much it connects to the human condition.
It's an underrated genre because, people think, it's for kids. I don't think kids should read that. Like they should, but it's mostly for adults.
Yeah. Well, and but
it's exactly the same. Everybody says I want superpowers, but if you read 1,000,000 comic books, bring me one where someone got superpowers without a tragic result. Just one. I dare you. So, but that's life, and that's where comic books do this amazing thing for us. And they don't say, oh, one day you will get superpowers and you will be Superman and everything will be lovely. Oh, no. Even if you get those superpowers, they come with a price. Like
exactly.
It's
and it's kind of a response of processing or handling tragedy in some way, right? Yeah.
And like Spider-Man classic, Uncle Ben, that he lost Uncle Ben, and it's and the powers, they changed him. So it's the same if you think like, okay, if I had a lot of money, my life would be easier. No, then you'll have money superpowers, and you'll have to deal with it, and you're going to need to be with accountants and people suing you all the time because you have money and they see an opportunity, or because you need to hire a lot of people and you can control what everyone is doing. So maybe someone's suing you also rightfully because of something someone did on your behalf, or I don't know. So and if I was thinner, then maybe I would I don't know, people would bother me more.
Right.
I don't know. Like
you would get more benefits from
like I was pretty as a kid, but I was fat, like a chubby. I always had weight issues, and I used to walk down the street when I was 15 or something, and people would stop me and say, "You're really pretty. You should lose like 5 pounds." Like people would say that to me, and
just the judgment. And I mean,
no, but I'm saying, like, if I weren't pretty, no one would say that to me. And this, like I had eating disorders my entire life. It's part of it. But I'm saying, okay, I'm still happy that I have this face because it's nice and it does good things for me. But but I'm saying, like, every superpower, like, comes with a price.
It has negatives
like
too, right?
every magic comes with a price.
Yeah.
So so it's kind of it's the same.
That's a good point. Like everything has its own set of issues. And like you said, with money, if you achieve a certain amount, it's like, you're managing it, you're having to worry about hiring people to help you manage it, and if they're dishonest and the
dangers that and people who you realize some friends weren't, couldn't handle it. I don't know. It's like, but it's like I think it was Citizen Kane in that movie. I don't know. Like that they teach at the university, but comic books they don't. Right. Anyway, I think he said something like, if all you want to do is get $1 million, you'll get $1 million. Like if all I wanted to do is get $1 million, I could get them. If I had no values, didn't care about anything, I would get them. I know how. I wouldn't do that.
Right.
Because
and then
there's no free money.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. No,
if all I
that's
cared
a really
about
good
was
perspective.
being whatever, then I would do that. But no, we care about a lot of things because we're complex creatures, and
and
that's it. Comic books, like it's not the end. It's not like, okay, Daredevil is dead and that's it. No, it's like and when he wins, he's beaten up. Like
definitely
the not Green Arrow, Marvel Green Arrow. That's with me, Hawkeye.
Right. Yep.
But the comic books, not the Marvel movies. Like he's in the hospital for 6 months and whatever. Yeah, he won, but he's in the hospital because his body's broken.
He's paying for it, right?
It's not the happy ending. Oh, he won the fight. Everybody's happy and they're singing. No, it's like And
Right. Like,
comic
yeah,
books
he
are
went
great
through
for that, and they
something.
prepare us for life much better. I take it back. Kids should read that because this prepares you.
I agree.
For
I
life.
agree.
Not Disney.
Right. And a
Not
lot of
parents
times I think when kids are growing up, like they're a lot of them are taught that, you know, you go for the happy ending, but if they see things more real as they're happening, or like even the example of like a lot of kids grow up not knowing anyone with a disability, right? And like if they do know somebody, then they realize, well, it's not a bad thing. There's not something necessarily wrong with the person. Like they're human too, and they want do many of the same things as other people, right? So I mean, it's just I think realizing that, you know, there's so many different
That's how I grew up. So what you're saying is
people.
just natural to me. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So I mean, that's like an acceptance thing too, right? Like learning to not judge somebody because you think you know what they're necessarily going through or who they are just from looks or just assuming. Yeah. So I mean, it's right. Exactly. So I think that the comments kind of dig into a lot of those real human things that are going on. So maybe kids should read those from an early age. Yeah.
No, it's funny because I'm realizing now that comic books are the most real genre probably in literature, except for like, I don't know, maybe history books or whatever. But you know what I mean?
True.
Like
right.
fiction. In fiction, think about it. Most of the books also have this happy ending or some sort of ending. Like there's no ending. In comic books, there's no ending, and that's life. There's no ending. It doesn't all come together in such a way or something. It doesn't.
And you get like variations of the characters too, right? Like I think you mentioned a lot of the reinventions that happen with these characters over time. Well, that can kind of be an example or metaphor of like, well, this is how humans evolve and change. Like I'm not the version of myself I was, you know, last year, 5 minutes ago. I mean, like there's a constant reinvention.
I wouldn't recognize. Of course.
I know. Yeah. So I don't know. There's just a lot of depth.
That's why I like writers like Tom King, you know, like his Supergirl. Okay, I know it's borderline cliche by now to say it because, you know, it's going to be the movie and everything, but still, there's a reason why this James Gunn chose this to be the movie, I guess. It's just, first of all, I read this like tears in my eyes.
Oh man, yeah.
Like, but it's not about the superpowers. She has the superpowers. Like it's not like she doesn't have them. Like everybody knows who she is. She's a superhero, but it's the complexity that comes with it, and the fact that she needs to be a hero and save everyone, and you know, and it's just that's it, and that's the great comic books that are kind of fixing the Disney thing of the happy ending, because I think happy ending is a oxymoron. Like I don't think it's a, you know.
Yeah. Do you think, I'm curious, you know, because Disney has basically like bought all of the rights and control of, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything. So like they have control over a lot of the narratives of these characters and everything. Do you feel like they've kind of tried to take away some of that, you know, comic book elements?
I work in games, and I used to work with the IP deals. So I met with those companies.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I know the structure of who owns whom like very well. Like it was my job for a while.
Okay.
So I'm very well familiar with that. And I can tell you that my 2 cents is in movies, yes. And that's why they become more mainstream, because they need to make money. But comic books, the ones that we buy in the comic book store every Wednesday or other days, they don't make so much money. So it's more of a heritage and the brand. It's more about the brand than it is about profit. So I think they just don't interfere as much. I don't think that if Paramount buys DC now, they're going to interfere with the comic books.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that Disney really looks at what I'm guessing. They kind of gave them a few guidelines.
Yeah.
Like you won't see comic books like I have one that's black superheroes against white superheroes. You won't see that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't think I think they'll interfere much more in the movies, much less in the comic books. I don't think it's the biggest revenue engine just because of that.
Right. Do you feel like there are any examples where Disney did a good job of like maintaining the character that was in the comics or preserving some of the characteristics?
By the way, Disney of the last years is not Disney of you know.
Right.
Now they have like these super strong characters, and they're not getting women against each other like they used to, and it's not just a happy ending. It's kind of still happy ending, but they are improving.
Well, there are some happy endings, but it does seem to
but at least they're improving.
Balance it out.
We have to give them that. That's a big difference. I think they did. I think they did a great job with a lot of things. First of all, the Avengers, until Endgame, it was great.
That's what I was going to ask you about.
Great.
Yeah.
And ever since then, not so great. But
I agree.
Like the last Captain America made me not want to go to see any movie ever again. Fantastic Four, for example, it was very artistically beautiful. Like it was
the most recent one,
but the story was ridiculous.
That's the most recent one that just came out. Yeah.
So like the entire visual, it was like amazing, but the story was just not a great movie. And I think up until Endgame, and I don't know if it's Disney or I'm not doing that anymore for like at work. So I don't know who's in charge of
what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's the franchise, if it's the Disney, if it's the whatever.
It seems like there's been a really a big struggle to figure out, with the characters that they built up to end game,
Yeah,
that like the storyline was cohesive and the
yeah,
characters, like you
yeah,
could follow their arc and like their dynamics changed between one another.
yeah.
And it
No,
was almost just like after that point, the storytelling is just it's really difficult to figure out what's going on. And I don't know, it's really been different. And I have other friends, that I
thank
had
you.
in
But we
grad
have
school
James
that
Gunn now, so we're going to have the DCU now instead. So that's good.
right, exactly,
Right at the
exactly.
right time.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's
Well,
going to
I'm
be.
hoping like,
Oh no, it's going to
it,
be good.
it's going to be good. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Peacemaker,
something to look
Superman,
forward
come on,
to.
it's going to be
Yeah,
good.
yeah. That direction is going to be
Yeah,
good. Maybe save things a little bit more. So yeah, yeah.
yeah. And
As
he's
far
going. James
as
Gunn, he's going. It's good. He doesn't care.
what, and he did the Guardians of the Galaxy too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
How
how
did
we
you
got
feel
his.
about that franchise?
Sorry.
Like, how do you feel about how good a job he did with that story?
Amazing. That's why.
Yeah.
But that's his thing. Like his thing is
Hmm. Hmm.
not giving an F. Sorry, pardon my French.
No, go for it. Nope.
And,
We're
and
open.
that's his thing. That's
Yeah.
why they gave him Peacemaker. And it was like, yeah, you can take that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
what Peacemaker? Yeah, sure, go have fun. Here's $50, go make a
Yeah.
show, something like that. And he made it into something
Yeah.
insane, and we're all like huge fans.
Hmm.
And that's because he goes all the way. He doesn't care. Have you ever seen Superman turning around mid-air with his heat vision and just
Yeah.
slicing people to half?
Mm,
Never.
mm, right.
That's like and in a DC movie. So
Mm, mm,
that's and that started with Guardians of the Galaxy.
right.
It was like the bad boy of superhero movies.
Right. Right. And I think that was one of the movies that I connected to the most in
Also,
the MCU. Like,
Suicide Squad.
oh yeah, yeah, I remember him doing that too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but you're right, and the way he just sort of went about it, like, and connecting it to music and like
yeah,
telling stories that aren't always happy. And I mean, like Star Wars, like character arc in
yeah,
those movies is like very, very different. There's a lot of human elements, I think, there too. So
yeah,
like, yeah, that's good. It's in good hands, giving kind of
yeah.
him the reins with Peacemaker and everything. Yeah.
Which is why I wasn't sad about Marvel. I was like, okay, we had a very
Mm-hmm.
good run with Marvel. It was a long run. It was amazing. Good.
Right.
Now there's going to be an even
There's a
better one.
shift. Yeah.
That's DC. That's Marvel. I don't care.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
Image or Icon or Dark Horse or I don't know.
When did you get into comics? I'm curious. Like, was that something you did way back when you were younger, or is it like where were you in your life when you kind of got into the whole comic book area?
So, like everyone, I used to read as a kid, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like really, I wasn't into comics.
Mm.
I got back to really reading it and going deeper and and seeing beyond the meta.
Mm.
Actually, after I watched Iron Man 1.
Okay. So that was
First,
like what, like 04, 06, somewhere in there, I think.
I don't know. My ADHD is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know years. I know it was the first movie in the Marvel
I love that one.
MCU,
Like
like the first one, and before, like on the way
that
to end.
started the full. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Tony
So
Stark
I think
era
it's
kind
like
of.
15, 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
It
then
was.
I was like, right, and this is so cool. And I started reading and watching more movies, and and then I like dove really deep into
Yeah.
it. And yeah, and ever since then I read, I don't know.
Yeah. But it was basically watching the Iron Man film that like led you to really dig in and
to like
get
going
deeper.
back to really reading comic books. Like it
Yeah.
reminded me how great they were. Until then, it was like, yeah, it's fun. I didn't
I remember
appreciate.
they tried like what, like the Hulk. I think they had a few movies, and
Yeah,
and
I
like
like Edward
Batman, you had
Norton's Hulk.
yeah, and then the Batman stories too. Like obviously,
Yeah.
like I got into those movies back in, I don't know, like mid '90s or something, right? When they had like
So I also watch all the movies, but
yeah,
but reading comic books and like seeing it beyond like a movie genre, that I think it started with Iron Man.
yeah, and you
Which
get
is great.
more details, right? Like deeper
Yeah.
into the character. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Reminded
particular
us how cool it was.
movie,
Yeah.
exactly. No, like I go back to that always. It's kind of the starting point that it just really connected, and I don't know if it was the actors or the story or all of it, but it was just like the like realness of it, and to see Tony Stark in the cave, like actually, crafting the iron and putting it
Yeah.
together, and
Yeah.
it was just so like human, I guess, that it
Exactly.
really connected.
It
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is not just, I should read that. Oh yeah. And
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
comic book and you're like, oh yeah, that's
Well, and you do get a lot more depth, I think, in the character when you start into the comics.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Like I definitely, like, as a kid, I was into the physical, like reading it and everything, but like with the disability, I think you and I chatted about this before, that I kind of lost interest because I could physically go get comics or read them or whatever. But now, like, looking into the digital side, and I mean, it's all there to read and access. And it's just like, I'm at a point in my life now where I'm like, oh, this is a good option. Like, I can really dig into this.
Yeah.
And, so like, I'm like the whole comic book scene and realizing how deep it is. It's really cool. And I'm definitely, I recommend anybody that's kind of thought about it, or that maybe they've wanted to try it, they should do it, because there is a lot there to gain.
And people keep writing better and better comics, like they're still writing good ones. Lemire,
like it didn't stop, right?
Black Hammer and the I forgot the name. I don't the new Lemire, the one that's still running, and it's all new, and it's great, and crossover, brilliant, also kind of new. The whole Tom King series, like, it's not like, okay, we only have the classics. No, there are good, great, amazing comic books being written right now, and that's really good. And new movies coming out that are great. But also Tony Stark, we liked him because he's an anti-hero. He's an arms dealer.
right, and look what it took to make him realize that he needed to change. And then you're right, like starting out. And
he's
almost
an alcoholic arms
it's like
dealer.
a redemption.
He's not that's not Superman. It's not Farboy.
No, it's a little bit opposite of that. But somehow, like, we all connect to it, because it's like he's made mistakes, and then he's kind of trying to redeem himself for that.
Because we're never going to be Superman. We're never going to come out of the sky being all perfect and flawless and
like being a godlike hero, not having any problems.
We all have our faults. We all did some stupid things that we regret and maybe even ashamed of. And here it's like, no,
on some things,
and it's not okay. You don't have to become a superhero, but you can still turn things around. Like, it's never too late for a plot twist in your life.
Exactly. Yeah, I think people could use more plot twists, probably.
I have many of all them.
I'm curious, like, for you connecting to people on social media with comics and everything. What has that been like? And is there people you've interacted with or shared stories? Like, what has social media been like for you with comics?
So I started with Instagram because I always try to talk to people about comic books, and then I get like the like the look that
you get like
waiting for me to go away because I bore people and they don't want to hear about it, and I have very few friends with whom I can talk about it. So I thought, like, okay, I can just start an Instagram account, and if you don't want to read it, don't read it. But I don't care if I have one follower and I'm talking to myself. At least I can do that, like my philosophy and comic books thing. And then I started, but it was very one-sided. Like, no one really, I didn't get many reactions.
No one interacted.
Never turned into a conversation. And then one day I saw like this icon for Threads, and it was like 100
like what is this?
Something like that. I don't have Threads. Like, what is this? And then I found out that Instagram does it automatically, and it takes every post that's under X amount of words, it takes to Threads. And I saw like I put something about how much I like going to comic books, and I saw like 100 people, I don't know, 50 people, I don't know, reacted, like commented, and I started talking to them, and people like, I used to have an old comic book store, and my favorite was that, and they closed mine and they opened a new one. And
Interesting.
It was so great. I talked and started talking in the comments because I was so excited that people actually wanted to talk to me. And I realized that Threads has this great comic book lovers community with people from all over the world, which means even if I'm awake in the middle of the night or whatever, whenever
there's somebody that
talk to me about
comics. With.
And if I put like weird things, like I'll post a photo of the protection bags I bought and the cardboard like I bought so I can put like all the new comic books I got. And give it, and people like 100 people would like the post, and I don't care about likes because it's not, I don't make
it's the connection, right? Like, it's the
but like 100 people saw that, knew what it was, and liked it, and like 30 people just commented, oh, which ones are you using? It's like, is this one? Oh, I love this part of, and it's like, it's so great. No matter what I put there, it's like a show that I like, or
it's almost people
recommendations are incredible there, and it's
they felt like artists, unrestricted maybe, or like where they, I don't know, it's maybe more free to share because it's text-based. I don't know, like why Threads would lead to connection like that. It's really interesting.
I think there are no influencers there. I think on Instagram and things like that, you always expect someone to do something for something. They're building a brand. They're doing it so that they can have ads for something.
You're trying to add following or like be a personality on
followers. You need likes on Threads. It doesn't matter if you have 7 followers or 70,000. I don't know how many followers people I talk to have. I have no idea. I have to finish soon.
Sorry.
But it's exactly that, because people go there because they want to talk about this, and they're looking for other people exactly like me.
Absolutely, But I sure appreciate the time and sharing your stories, and everything. But if people want to connect, like where can they find you on Threads? What's your username and everything?
Sorry, I didn't hear the last sentence.
If you could share your username and how people can connect to you on Threads.
It's the Doctor of Comics on Instagram or on Threads, and
love it. Great. Well, I sure appreciate you joining. And that's kind of the last icebreaker. I realized that we have the same birthday on October 2nd. So I'm curious what you did to celebrate on that day.
I just read comic books all day long.
Perfect. That's perfect.
And I ate
that's the best thing to do, right?
Cake and whatever.
That's what I did. I went to a concert and ate cake, and that's the best way to do it. But no, Alona, it's been really good, and looking forward to sharing the episode and everything. But I sure appreciate the time.
Great talking to you. You made me realize
same here.
I'm going to think about it for the next few days. Thanks.
Same here, and I'll be looking at your posts on Doctor of Comics.
All right.